How did you make sense of religion being so important in your family, while at the same time being exposed to the physical aggression, to the absent father, to being told if you're gay, you're going to go to hell, catch AIDS, and die? And at the same time, keeping your faith in God.
I still haven't made sense of religion. And
Mm-hmm.
I may never make sense fully of religion. But that's what faith is. Faith is believing. Um, I've had moments where I've been so upset with God and I've asked God, why did you put me through this? And um, but He's always delivered me. He's always,
Mm-hmm.
I am so blessed. I'm so incredibly blessed. And when I think about the moments when I was in the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, and when I say a miracle happened. That's God. That's
Nothing but God. Mm-hmm.
God. You know, all of my struggles, all of my pain, I had to go through that to get to now. And I know that God has ordained my life, and I know that this is, I'm excited because I needed to get to this point where I could acknowledge all of this and put it out there and talk it through and try to like make sense of it, because before I could, whatever he wants me to do next, I don't know, but before I could get to that next chapter, this had to be done. This needed to be. So that's how I've made sense of religion. I've always maintained a faith. And again, I've always made it very personal. I've always made it very personal. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but this is the faith. This is Zadrian's faith. This is the faith that I have. This is what I feel comfortable with. And um, and I just listen to that. I listen to that voice inside of me. I listen to that, you know, in those moments where I do feel like it's wrong, I pray about it and I listen to the voice. Sometimes it comes immediately, sometimes it comes a month later, sometimes it comes a year later. I'm learning how to be more patient. So yes, that's the first question to answer about your faith, to answer with how I've dealt with religion, how I've dealt with faith. And what was the second part of your question?
What was it like to come out
Oh,
to your family? And when I say your family, I'm talking about your the four main women in your life, because
it's funny.
technically,
Technically, I still haven't come out.
yes.
It's the coming out. No.
So technically, yes.
Yeah, that's a great point. So on my dad's side of the family, I've only come out to Aquila and to Mia and to Kiana, who, you know, and to Casta. That's it. That's what I verbally said, you know, I am gay. But let's pause on that. I hate this term coming out. I hate the fact that come out. Why can't I just be? This is Zadrian.
Just be. Yes.
Why can't I do okay, girl, I just wanted to call you and let you know I'm coming out. I'm gay. Why do we have to announce that?
Right. Agreed.
But I get it. It is what it is. I want to put that disclaimer out. So to the four women in my life, it was a lot. I had left Savannah. I was a student at University of Southern California, and I had danced on cruise ships for a while. And I remember I came home to Savannah to visit, and I brought one of my friends with me. We call him Diva. Hey, Diva. His name's Tremaine. He's still a great friend, still a great support. I was so afraid to go home. I said, Diva, will you come home with me? And child, I had hazel contacts. I think my hair was pressed. Dyed ends. I had on my Winnie the Pooh jeans. You know, my little Lacoste type. I was gay. If there was any question, this was. But I was doing. It's funny. There you go, using fashion. I use fashion to help me tell my story. I use fashion to tell my story. So I remember my grandmother came home and Diva, she didn't know that I had brought Diva with me. She came home and Diva was in one room and I was in the other room. And Diva, forgive me for saying this, but Diva is also, Diva is very much, if you meet Diva, you go, okay, Diva. You know, you just know. You know what I mean? There's no
guessing.
My grandmother came home because we got there early. She left the door open for us, but we were so tired from the drive. I think we drove from Miami, so we were both asleep in separate rooms. And I remember she came and she said, Zadrian, who is that girl in the other room? And I was like, first of all, that's a boy. That's my friend Diva. And I think she saw me, and I think at the time I was also wearing makeup because I used to wear like, I used to always have that smooth,
Mm-hmm.
that Naomi Campbell skin, honey. So I would have a little light beat on, and I think I had not taken off the makeup, and I think I still had on my contacts. And when I you wake up, and I was like, you kind of wake up in the days, and I remember waking up, and my grandmother she was standing there crying because she did not see Zadrian. She saw what she saw. And so that was my coming out. And I don't remember the timeline, but I had also written a letter to my grandmother because I was sexually abused. Well, this is a whole nother topic because so when I was growing up, and this is something that I need to work out through my therapy. But when I was growing up, there were situations where myself and other boys who were older than me would engage in, like touching each other or whatever that may be. Actually, I thought it was experimenting, but now I do think. I mean, sexuality is also a very big topic, and I think that people perspectives of it. At the time, and for most of my life, I had convinced myself that that was normal. Boys show each other their private parts. Boys touch each other. That's how you become a man. I thought that that was just a very normal thing, but it's not. I think that you know sexuality is. I don't have all the answers to that. That's something that I'm still working on. But I do think that a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, an 11-year-old, if someone who's older than, even if it's 3 or 4 or 5 years, you know what? I just hate. I'm upset that there was not a space where I felt comfortable enough to go back and talk to somebody in my family about that and say, "Oh, today such and such did this to me," or "Today I did that." Because when it was happening, it was very weird because there was a part of me that enjoyed it, but there was also a part of me that knew it was wrong. And I didn't know that if I thought it was wrong because I had been told that being gay was wrong. And this is why it's tricky. Because when I was younger, I also had girlfriends. And so again, in the community, it's okay if you come home and you be like, "Oh my God, Zadrian was kissing Christina. Zadrian was kissing Angela." That's okay. Oh yeah, whatever, boy. Go ahead. As long as you don't get her pregnant, it's fine. So that gets the carpet, and that's 10 years old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13. You have a girlfriend. That's fine. But the minute you change that to Zadrian was kissing Bobby, or Zadrian was kissing somebody, like Zadrian was kissing Michael, now it becomes this bigger thing. So. I remember I wrote a letter to my grandmother and to my auntie explaining that and breaking it down for them, about just telling them what happened to me when I was a child, when I was an adolescent. And I think that they blamed themselves. They immediately blamed themselves. They said, "Oh, we shouldn't have let you go over there. We should have known." And the fact of the matter is, there's really no one to blame, because the people who were doing it to me, that's something that they had either seen in their environment. So they were mirroring what they had seen. And so it's just one of those, it's a series of unfortunate events.
Right. And you mentioned that I think you said that you were it bothered you that you weren't able to have that conversation with someone. So what was that something that you told yourself that you couldn't tell someone?
And see, this is where I think the absence of a father is really massive. Because I think those types of conversations about sexuality are normally had for a male with their dad and for a female with their mom. So because there's no male, I could be wrong on that. That's just what that's just how I think about it. So because there was no male figure in my life, I had no one to talk to about it, and I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to dare talk to my mom about sex. It was such a taboo topic. Mom, no, you just don't talk about those things. Don't talk about I come from a family where even hugging each other is like, "Ooh, don't hug me!"
Okay.
Which is funny because it's just interesting how you carry things on with you, because yeah. But I think it's talking through this now. I think maybe if I had a dad, one, And this is where it gets a little bit confusing. I don't think I don't want to overthink it or overcomplicate it. But of course, I've had moments where I've said to myself, if I had a father in my life from birth, and if I had seen a heterosexual relationship from birth, would I be straight? That's just me keeping it real. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I had those thoughts in my head, and sometimes I say to myself, but because I grew up in a household around 4 amazing women, and of course those women are all heterosexual women, and they all loved men, and there was always men in their life. That's what I saw from the time I was born. So it's what I'm hearing. It gets very the whole sexuality thing is a big thing, and
Yeah.
be able to dissect that or suss that out in this interview. But I'm just trying to give you the raw thoughts as they are in my head and in my mind. But of course, those thoughts come into my head, and that's what my mom was thinking. That's what people say that now. Oh, it's unfortunate that Zadrian's father wasn't in his life. That's why he's soft. That's why he's not hard. And part of that I did think about. There was no man taking me to shoot hoops or throw a football with me, or there was none of that. So how was I supposed to emulate stereotypical traits of masculinity if none of that was around me? The only traits around me were femininity.
So by you saying that, it leads me to think that being gay is learned. Is that your perception?
No, and I'll tell you why being gay is not learned, because my brother, Chad, completely different set of circumstances, also did not have a father growing up, both raised by the same mother, and he's a heterosexual. So I think that that's just something, and then I've met loads of gay people who come from, raised by the mother and the father in the household. So I think that, again, that's just a thought that's percolated in my mind. Of course, I thought to myself, if my father was in my life, would this be different? I had this conversation the other day. There's about 6 or 7 gay people in our family that we know of on the paternal side. So now I'm like, is this in the DNA? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it leaves you with that thought, like, and that's the mystery around sexuality. It's like, no one knows. They haven't been able to. No one knows for sure.
Your dad not being around that much in your formative years, and you've talked about this and you've touched on this. How has that impacted you in your relationships with other men, whether it's professionally, romantically, spiritually? Have you managed to fill this gap? And are you trying to fill that gap?
I can only speak for myself. I think that what has happened is that romantically, the men that I have dated, I've looked for father figures. The person that I'm currently married to, Martin, is very much, it's very much, he's like a father to me, and, we always say to each other, the love that we have for each other it's an indescribable love. I can't even find the words to describe it. And I don't even know if I'll ever have this love again. But the thing that I can liken it to is the love that I wish I would have had from a father. It's because Martin, I can say this, hand on the Bible, Martin is the first person that I have been able to be my 100% honest self. I wasn't honest self in the beginning. Trust me, it's been a journey. But it's the first person where I have been able to be completely vulnerable, flawed, all. And so that's why it's indescribable, because this is the first time I'm experiencing, this is also this is what it's like to be 100% honest and true and vulnerable and communicate. That's what this feels like. But I think that is why it's indescribable. And that's why I say, hang on to this moment, Zadrian, because you may never have it again. You may never have this moment again. So feel what this feels like. Latch onto it, because the next person, it may not be that. But maybe there won't be a next person, because now that I felt this, maybe I'll never settle for less.
Yes.